Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There she goes, Miss Grace.
Hello, Judge.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon. How are you?
Okay.
All right, we're ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Judge Regina Mincy, and we're going to begin our Fulton County State Court Expedited Accusations calendar. This is a calendar for cases in which individuals have recently been arrested and charged with certain misdemeanor offenses. Soon after their arrest, the Fulton County Solicitor General's office has already accused the cases of the offenses brought against them, and the case has been bound over to the Fulton County State Court. Nevertheless, this will usually be the defendant's initial appearance before a state court judge. So we are able to address several matters, including bond, possible plea offer, and arraignment if that needs to be handled today. I'm going to begin and advise everyone that this whole entire proceeding is being recorded as well as live streamed on YouTube, so govern yourselves accordingly. I want to remind the defendants on this calendar that you do have certain constitutional rights. The first being that you have a right to have an attorney representing you at this point in your case. You also have the right to remain silent. And remember that anything that you state about the facts, the circumstances, or the occurrences of your case can and will be held against you. Listen to your attorneys and govern yourselves accordingly. Who do we have first, deputies?
Position 7, Ms. Jackson.
Okay.
Your Honor, if they could also bring position 9 and have him sit up front. Robert Jackson is the co-defendant of Miss Jackson.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right. This is 23 CR 00519-3C, charge of 1 count of criminal trespass pretrial
First arrest for both.
for both. Okay. All right. State.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened August 24th, 2023, at 144 Ponce de Leon Avenue. That is the mark on Ponce. Miss Jackson was at that location. The property manager asked her to leave the leasing office. She refused to do so. An officer then intervened, went to place Miss Jackson under arrest, and the defendants, who is, I believe, the son of Miss Jackson. The son of Miss Jackson, stepped in between and forcefully pushed the officer backwards, which hindered the arrest of Miss Jackson. So Mr. Robert Jackson was also placed under arrest at that point. For both, the state's recommendation is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Stay away from the 144 Ponce de Leon Avenue, which is the mark at Ponce. Stay away from the leasing office at that location if they do live there, which I believe they may. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And we're also asking for 1-day anger awareness for Mr. Robert Jackson, but not for Miss Jackson. That's all for the state.
All right. And so let me be a little more clearer on the incident location. The whole Ponce City Market, I mean, that's a large facility.
The state is only requiring them, if they live at that location, to stay out of the leasing office. If they do not live at that location, we're asking that they stay away from the market Ponce. And as to Mr. Robert Jackson, that would be 1,000 per count. As to Miss Deborah Jackson, she only has 1 count, so it would be 2,000.
And I heard Ms. McLeod say they do live there.
They do live there, Your Honor. That is correct.
Yeah.
Represent Mr. Jackson, Your Honor.
You're right. I guess my only concern is if they live there, it's going to be difficult to stay within the lease. I don't know, maybe they can pay their rent online. I'm kind of concerned, and I do understand what has gone on and want to make sure, obviously, that the victim will be safe. And I guess that's something we can ask them. Do they both live there?
They
And-
both live there, Your Honor.
They both live there.
That is
And can
correct.
they
They're
pay their,
son.
right, can they pay their rent without taking it to the leasing office?
We do that now.
They can't, you can't?
Yeah, they take it out directly from our accounts.
Okay, okay. All right, just making sure I'm a little familiar with it. And I thought, gee, it's a huge, huge place. So only to stay away from the leasing office at 144 Ponce de Leon. Okay, okay. All right. Anything else from the state? I guess that's it. And then Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 33 years old. He's never been in trouble a day in his life. He saw police officers putting hands on his mother, and he was naturally upset and frustrated, and he was merely trying to protect his mom. I don't believe that he needs an anger management course, Your Honor. I think that's he's lived for 33 years in the city of Atlanta as a Black man, and he's never been arrested or been in any kind of trouble. Anyone may be traumatized seeing his mom being manhandled by another man. And this is all that happened. My client was simply trying to protect his mom. I don't think an anger management course is necessary, Your Honor, but we are okay with the signature bond.
Okay. All right, let me start with the first one with Ms. Jackson. With Deborah Jackson, I'm going to order the 2,000.
Your Honor,
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
if
I'm
I may
sorry.
be heard on Miss Jackson. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Abden. Yes, go ahead.
No worries, no worries.
Okay.
So Miss Jackson is 67 years old. She was born in Georgia. She's lived here her whole life. She lives with her son, as you've heard. She has her bachelor's degree. She works in information technology. She's been doing that for a very long time. And without going too much into the facts, my client maintains her innocence. She contests these allegations. It kind of sounds like it was a misunderstanding and an issue with the property manager in the management office specifically. And it's also my understanding that the location is called Mark on Ponce, MARQ, and it's an apartment building.
Okay. And not
Um,
necessarily at the full marketplace.
I didn't click the location, but that's just what I saw it's called.
Okay.
So this is her first arrest. I would ask for a signature bond, and she would agree to stay away from the management office, but as you've heard, she does live there with her son.
All
And,
right.
and Your Honor, excuse me if I omitted that. I thought I had said Mark on Ponce, but if I omitted that, let me just make sure to clarify that for the record.
Okay. And I may have misheard you. All right, I will grant the $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. Per judge, I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I'm going to order the stay away from the leasing office at Mark on Ponce. Anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, that's for Miss Jackson. And now can we have Robert Jackson?
This is position number 9.
Yes. And this is 123 CR 005186F. Robert Jackson, we kind of heard your case together with your mom, Miss Deborah Jackson. And Ms. McLeod, do you have anything else that you want to add for Mr. Jackson?
No, Your Honor, just to point out that he's never been arrested, he's never been in any trouble at all. And we don't think he has any kind of anger issues at all, or that he needs to take an anger management course.
Okay,
All he did was stand, he was just trying to protect his mom. He just stood in front of the police, in front of her,
okay,
while the police officers were trying to manhandle her. Any man would have done that for his mother.
right. Mr. Jackson, I do just want you to be careful, with your encounters with the police. But I'm going to order the $2,000 signature bond. And I'm going to, order that signature bond be through, pretrial. I'm going to order that it be 1,000 on each of the charges. And, although I understand, that is your first arrest, I'm going to order the 1 day anger awareness course through pretrial. And I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I'm going to order that you also stay away from the leasing office at the Mark on Ponce. And I think your mom stated you all pay it online or through an auto draft. So just make sure while you're on bond that you do not go to the leasing office, okay? All right, good luck to you.
Position 13, Ms. Rudolph.
More.
All right, this is 23 CR 005190F. Jamisha Rudolph, charged with 1 count of criminal trespass, pretrial.
6 total. Last arrest was 2017 for robbery and the second and conspiracy. It's out of California. She's a resident of Sacramento. 2017 disorderly conduct, failed to appear, and 2 arrests from 2016 for disorderly conduct.
Okay, state.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Jamisha Rudolph is the cross defendant of position 14 as well. So if you would like to handle them together. This incident happened August 22nd, 2023 at 1619 Sylvan Road. Officers were dispatched to the home to handle an alarm call that had gone off around 10 a.m. that day. Officers arrived at 11:45 and they met the property management company, DK Rentals, who had called the officers concerning that alarm. They knocked on the door and met with the accused and her 2 children, ages 8 and 6. She advised officers that she had signed a lease with an agent from the leasing company known as DK Rentals, and Mr. Mike Williams of that company was the individual that met her earlier, unlocked the door and gave her a key, which she showed the officer a copy of the lease. The leasing agent informed him that the lease document that she had was a fake, and then they went to talk to the side of. They went to the side to talk to the owner of the company. The parties left, the locks were changed, and then later that day, the owner came and met with the police officer, and he wanted to remove the defendant, which is Ms. Jamisha Rudolph and Mr. Samuel Trammell. And they were told, later they realized that when they arrived at that location, they couldn't remove the defendant because she claimed to have a lease. And when officers were told to arrest the defendant, when they arrived, Mr. Trammell produced a 17-page long lease. The parties were placed under arrest, and they were upset because they believed that they had legal rights to that property. However, the state was able to talk to the victim in this case, and he said that nobody authorized the 2 individuals, Mr. Samuel and Ms. Jamisha, at that location. Once both defendants were arrested, they began cleaning out the residence, and they found multiple IDs with different identities, credit cards, social security cards, all other fraudulent lease agreements. The victim, Mr. Nathaniel Gatsley, is on the Zoom, so I would like to sound for him when it's appropriate. Mr. Gatsley states that the windows and the doors and the locks were broken. He does not want the defendant. He doesn't know the defendant. He's never been in contact with them. He wants no contact with them, and he wants them to stay away from his residence. So the court is asking, the state is asking for $3,000 surety bond for Ms. Jamisha the defendant, Ms. Jamisha Rudolph, to no further contact with Mr. Nathaniel Grassley, to stay away from the 1619 Sylvan Road, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, Your Honor.
All right. And then as far as the state presenting on
Mr. Trammell.
yeah.
Yes, the same thing applies. 3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Nathaniel Grassley, and stay away from 1619 Sylvan Road, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, Your Honor.
Okay. Pre-trial, before I have the defense to go, can you give me the criminal history on Mr. Trammell on position 14?
Yes.
Okay.
34 total. Last arrest was in March out of California. He appears to have an open case for conspiracy to commit a crime, obstruction, and shoplifting. 2022, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. 2019, 2021, same charge, conviction. 2019, parole violation, ag assault, a deadly weapon, and vandalism. 2018, parole violation. 2016, burglary conviction, and 2016 vehicle theft conviction.
All right. And then for Miss Rudolph, is that PD Kim or Miss McLeod? Which one?
Rudolph is my client, Your Honor. I thought we were gonna listen to our witness, the alleged
Oh, I'm
victim,
sorry. We do have
Nathaniel
a witness.
Grassley.
Yes, is it Gaffney?
Gastley?
Oh, Gastley. Spell it.
Yes, ma'am. Gastley.
Oh, Gastley. Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
You wish to address the court today, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, put your hand down. What would you like to tell me?
Basically, in handing over some of this information to a lieutenant, I'll give you his name if you wish. And seeing some of these cards, identities, there's social security cards, there's driver's licenses.
Objection, Your
There's
Honor, it has
mail.
nothing to do with
Yeah,
the warrant.
I just want to know about
Okay.
because this is not the trial. The
Okay.
evidence will be presented at the appropriate time. This is just a bond hearing. I'm assuming, and I'll ask you, do you want to have any further contact with Ms. Rudolph or Mr. Trammell?
No, ma'am.
And are you in fear of both of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's kind of the gist of the bond hearing
Okay.
for today. And they have given me the facts the state has pretty clearly based on the warrant. Unless you had anything else to add, it's obvious of kind of what the allegations are to me. But again, you will have a later time to appear to talk more specifically about the charges and the allegations, okay?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any cross-examination by either defense attorney or the state?
Nothing further, Your Honor, no conversation.
Nothing. Okay. All right. Go ahead, PD Kim. You can mute yourself and stay on, Mr. Gastley, till we finish.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor, Miss Rudolph right now is currently 2 months pregnant, and she has a low blood pressure, so she does need to take care of her body. It is very important for her to have a signature on bond, so that way she can get medical attention. Your Honor, she's from California about 2 or 3 days ago, and she's very new to this area. She came here because of her fiance. She has 2 of her own children, and yet because of the new baby that she's expecting, she moved with him, and she had no knowledge of anything else except that there was lease. She thought this was completely legit, and she was staying with him. My client, I think she needs criminal trespass. We would like to request for a signature on bond. And Mr. Trammell and her 2 kids are only family that she has here in Georgia. So we prefer no further violent contact. She has no other place to go as of now. And I requested social worker to have a visit with her so that way she can provide some housing resources. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and I will order a $3,000 signature bond. But she has a Georgia address now. Well,
As of now, the place where she thought she had a lease, she paid the cash according to her story. That's the only one that she has right now address, but she
And-
cannot go back there because of criminal trespass. So she will probably have to get housing resources from social worker to stay in a shelter for temporarily until she finds a place.
I'm reluctant if I say through jail because we would have to keep up with her. I'm reluctant to say pretrial because she doesn't have a local address, but I'm assuming she's intending to stay here.
Yes,
She's going to need to find somewhere to live. Like you said, social services will meet with her and assist with that. But
yes,
her only tie is just through the cross defendant Samuel Trammell. And does he, I guess, Ms. McLeod, have another local address or not?
He does, Your Honor.
Okay.
And I can put it in the chat if the court would like.
Yes,
Oh.
if that's going to be where she's going to be residing as well.
yes, probably.
I will send it to Miss Champion, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Is it Miss Champion or Miss Grace?
I can send it to either.
It's Miss Grace, Judge.
Miss
Okay.
Grace,
I
yeah.
will send it to Miss Grace.
So let me do this. I'm going to give her a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per judge. I am going to order a stay away. Is it 1619 Sylvan Road, I believe?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and a no further contact order with Nathaniel Gasly. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I guess that will be it for Ms. Rudolph. And then on Mr. Trammell, I guess you can, there's nothing else the state need to add anything on Mr. Trammell.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and go ahead, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 26 years old. He is the father of 2 minor children that he shares with the co-defendant. And he tells me, Your Honor, that he is not employed right now. And he has not been employed for some time, maybe over 2 years. I believe he tells me that he does receive some SSI and has been receiving that for a while, but that is the source of his income, Your Honor. As I said, he has 2 minor children and 1 is on the way. He shares all of those children with the co-defendant, Your Honor. He does have a good address here in Atlanta, which I have shared with Miss Grace. I understand that he does have some history, Your Honor, but given the nature of what is alleged, and he does tell me that he believes that they were scammed because they were given a lease and they had leased this place and they were surprised when, the alleged owner showed up and told them that they had to get out. So I would ask for a signature bond for him, Your Honor. He does have a good address here in Atlanta. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, I just want to put it on record that, Mr. Trammell is a convicted felon and he has many offense. He has an offense history out of California dealing with known stolen property, taking objects without consent and possessing a firearm. The list continues to go on. I know the defendants are claiming that this situation was a scam. But, I just want to put it back on record that once they were taken out of the home, they did find credit cards, they did find.
I'm going to object to this line of testimony because I believe it is unrelated. He's not charged with any violent offense or anything like that. And we don't know who put whatever they are claiming was found there in this property. We don't know that it is connected with these two people.
I think that as a warrant say, Ms. Nimini, that it was found on his person.
No,
It was not found on his person, but it was found among their belongings at the home.
it did
Okay.
not. Warren said no such thing.
All right. He does have an extensive criminal history, an arrest just as recent as March of this year. And then last year. And so I heard that from pretrial. I'm going to order a $3,000 surety bond. I'm going to order stay away from the incident location. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And no further contact with Mr. Nathaniel Gasly. Is there anything else?
Nothing further from defense.
All right, thank you.
Thank
That will
you.
conclude the cases. And thank you for your time, Mr. Gasly, if he hasn't already signed off.
Thank you.
Position 10, Jordan.
This is 23 CR 005187B, Brittany Jordan, charged with 1 count of simple battery family violence pretrial.
Second arrest, 2017. Crossing state county guard lines with drugs, prohibited items. Possession of a schedule 1 or 2 with intent. She got first offender for that. She's recommended.
Okay. All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday at around 9 p.m. Officers were advised that the defendant assaulted Mr. Martez Johnson, who's the victim in this case. His child, the father of Miss Jordan's child. While officers were en route, they also received another phone call from the victim, Mr. Martez Jackson, who stated that he was being pursued in a vehicle with attempts to run him over. Once officers were able to arrive at the location, which is 311 Scott Drive, Southwest Atlanta, officers engaged with the defendant and they were told that the dispute occurred over damages dealing with the apartment. According to the defendant, Mr. Johnson allowed her to come into the apartment, but a verbal altercation ensued and it escalated to a physical confrontation in which the defendant was pushed by Mr. Jackson. In order to protect himself, the altercation slipped into the parking lot of the apartment complex, at which point Mr. Jackson attempted to leave, but he was prevented from it. The defendant kept grabbing him and striking him. And at that time, a defendant's sister, Ms. Shayna Dowdy, called her boyfriend, who goes by the name Little Low, who arrived armed with an AK-47 and a .40 caliber handgun. And he pointed the gun at the victim and threatened to shoot him by pressing him against a silver SUV. Mr. Jackson was able to escape, but he was pursued by one of the sisters who assaulted him with a bat before departing. Officers observed minor injuries to his chest and arms, and they attributed to the scratches to the defendant. After talking with both parties and examining the invisible injuries, officers have concluded that defendant was the primary aggressor in the altercation. The state was able to talk to the defendant, not the defendant, but the victim. And he stated that they are in a relationship. They are in a relationship. They live together at the incident location. They share 2 children. Mr. Jackson states that the defendant prevented him from leaving the residence, brought her sister, her cousin's boyfriend to assault him, and that they beat him with a bat, and the defendant's sister pulled a knife on him, and the cousin's boyfriend pointed a gun in his face. Mr. Jackson is very, very upset, and I want to sound for Mr. Jackson because he did state that he was going to be online today. Mr. Jackson has a bruise on his arms and a knot on his neck. His body is sore. He's unable to go to work this morning. He wants no contact with the defendant and does not want her to return to his location. The state is actually wants to transfer this up to the DA. So the state is asking for 10,000 surety bond, no further contact with Mr. Martez Jackson, to stay away from 311 Scott Drive, Southwest Atlanta, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, Your Honor.
So is the victim's name Martez Jackson or Martez Johnson?
Jackson, Your Honor.
Jackson, okay. All right. PD, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. McLeod.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, what was the name of this person? I didn't catch the name.
Martez Jackson. Is that, I'm sorry, we're on
That is not my
Brittany.
client.
Oh, Brittany Jordan. I'm sorry. I gave you the victim's name instead of the defendant.
Okay.
Yeah, Brittany Jordan is not yours. I'm sorry. So who's representing Ms. Jordan?
I am representing Ms. Jordan, Your Honor, but I didn't hear her name.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ms. Jordan is 33 years old, Your Honor. She is the mother of 4 minor children. They're 11, 12, 1, and 2. She tells me that she is currently not employed, Your Honor. She's a primary caretaker for her 4 children. I would ask the court to consider giving her a signature bond so she can get out of jail and get back to her home to take care of her children.
All right. I am. And we don't have this victim. Is he on the line at all? I don't think I see. Didn't sound for him. Martez Jackson.
And Your Honor, they do not live together.
Okay.
And tells me they do not live together at all. And this is actually her apartment.
It's her.
It's her place, not his. And they do not live together.
All right. The state, I don't think the state requested a stay away. Did you, Ms. Nimini? I don't think so.
Yes, Your Honor. Based on the warrants, Mr. Jackson said that he let her in. So I was under assumption that it was his apartment, but I can double check the warrant.
Okay, looking.
I believe they live together, Your Honor.
They do not, Your Honor. My client has a totally different address from that location, but it is her apartment.
She has a different location, but it is that what you
her
said?
Apartment? Yeah, yes, it is her apartment, and he does come there from time to time, but it is her apartment. She does have a separate address where she lives with her children, but she spends some time at this apartment that is her apartment as well. And not his.
Okay.
Your Honor, if Mr. Jackson doesn't live there, the state just asks that he have a law enforcement escort to ensure if he lives there or not, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to. Didn't hear a lot of. Well, I did hear as far as this is her second arrest. Is that right, State? As far as the criminal history?
She has no significant.
Yes, Your Honor, and this will be the second arrest, to my understanding.
All right, I'm going to order a $3,000 surety bond And with that $3,000 surety bond, I'm going to order a police escort to go back to that property to determine that Mr. Jackson does not reside there. Once they sweep the premises to determine that, then she can stay at that location. Otherwise, she would stay away and go to a different location if Mr. Jackson still resides there. No further contact with Mr. Jackson. And if there's visitation allowed, then it would be facilitated by a third party. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I think that's it. Anything else?
Your Honor, I would just like to say that my client is not in a position to pay bond because she's not currently working and she has 4 minor children. Given the fact that this is just her second arrest, I would implore the court to consider giving her a signature bond instead of a surety bond. It can be conditioned on no further contact with the alleged victim.
All right, I will, Miss Grace. And I think you said the children are 12, 11, 1, and 2.
Yes, Your Honor, they are minor children.
Your Honor, and the state is going to object to that. I will say that this involved someone bringing someone over to threaten this victim with guns and hit him with a baseball bat. So even though she was not the one who personally did it, she called these people over to do the job for her.
My client denies that she did any such thing.
And I understand that these are allegations, but they are very serious allegations, Your Honor. And quite frankly, this case should have been a felony.
I do, and I think the first arrest was in 2017.
Yes, Your Honor.
With Schedule 2 drugs, I believe, or Schedule 1, I'm not sure which I heard.
Yes, bringing drugs over the state line, Your Honor.
He has no violent history at all, and that's just one arrest.
However, this arrest is violent, Your Honor. There was someone with a knife, there was someone with a gun, there was someone with a bat.
Yeah, I will stick to my $3,000 surety bond, and no further contact with the victim, and stay away from that location unless the law enforcement determines that the victim does not reside there, and then the third party exchange if there's any visitation allowed with the children. Okay. All right, that'll conclude this case.
Ms. Jordan, you can give me a call later if you have a question.
And Your Honor, to update, I just received something from the DAs, but it was on a different case. My apologies.
Okay.
Position 15, Wallace.
I'm sorry, Deputy.
Position number 15, Wallace.
Okay. This is 23 CR 005192E. Is it Kanaya Wallace? Charged at 1 count of simple battery, 1 count of disorderly conduct, and a 3rd count of simple assault pre-trial.
I think I counted about 24. The last arrest they got on the bond assessment is incorrect because August 30th haven't even came yet. She got to open 21 CP 204533. Ag assault, simple battery, DUI, hit and run. Got to open battery, trespass, obstruction, 23 CP 221159. 2019 failure to appear, 2019 ag assault conviction, 2018 parole violation, 2017 possession of tools for the commission. That was a conviction. 2015, 16, and 17 failure to appear.
All right, State.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday and the 22nd, I believe, or the 20th. Let me double check. But they happened at 227 Polar Rock Avenue, Southwest Atlanta. Officers were dispatched in response to a fight. They met with the accused, who advised officers she was at the location because her phone pinged in the area yesterday, and it was believed that the victim, Mr. Quintavious Houston, had her phone. The defendant claims that the victim posted sex videos of her that he retrieved from the cell phone, but no proof was provided to the officers. Mr. Houston, the victim, advised officers that the defendant was just arrested at his residence Saturday for not leaving when asked after an argument and for fighting with law enforcement. And the reference case number, I have that, it's an open case, 23 CP 221159. Mr. Houston also advised the officers, and he showed them video evidence where the defendant is yelling threats from the city street, stating that she was going to do something to the victim, and then she is seen entering the property. She is also seen spitting on Mr. Houston, the victim, and then striking him forcibly and repeatedly in the face and in the head. The state was able to talk to the defendant, and he did advise us that the defendant and him are just friends. He didn't want her arrested, but he just wanted her to leave the residence. She did hit him. He did say that he wants her to stay away from him. He doesn't want any contact with her, wants her to stay away from his residence. And he said he won't be on Zoom, but I would like to sound for Mr. Quintavious Houston. I think current bond is $7,500. The state thinks that's reasonable, considering that the defendant has 3 open cases. She has 3 open cases, a couple of convictions for possession of, tools for a crime. No further contact with Mr. Houston, Your Honor. Stay away from that. 227 Polar Rock Avenue, Southwest Atlanta. 1 day of anger awareness. No alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, Your Honor.
And so what's the breakdown?
$2,500 for each count, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 28 years old. She denies the allegations stated by the state, Your Honor, and she tells me that she couldn't find her phone, and when she used the app to find out where her phone was located, she realized that it was located where the alleged victim was. So she merely went there to retrieve her phone. She was the one who called the police, Your Honor, because she wanted their assistance to get her phone. She tells me that the video that the alleged victim showed to the police was something that happened a long time ago, but he showed it to the police, trying to make them believe that it was something which was current, when in fact it was not current. She does not have a problem with staying away from him. And I do understand what the state is saying, that she has open cases, but $7,500 in bond is excessive, Your Honor. So I would ask the court to give my client a reasonable bond so she can get out of jail. She does have a job. She tells me that she is gainfully employed, Your Honor, but she's not in a position to pay $7,500 to pay for a bond when the bond is $7,500. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, I just want to remind you that she just was arrested Saturday for fighting law enforcement for not failing to leave this victim's house on Saturday.
So they were, seems like maybe in a relationship, or?
According to Mr. Houston, the victim, he says they're just friends. So we're going to assume they're just friends, but yeah, she just got in trouble being at his house 5-6 days ago, and then came back and
that's why she called law enforcement to ask her to retrieve her phone. She didn't just go there by herself. She called law enforcement because she obviously left her phone there, because it is established that she was there last week. She couldn't find her phone. She tried to retrieve her phone. It showed up that it was at this location, and she called law enforcement to help her to retrieve her phone.
However, calling law enforcement to retrieve your phone doesn't involve spitting on an individual, threatening an individual.
It didn't happen. This is what I'm saying. She's saying that did not happen on that occasion, that was an old, long ago video that he showed to the police and was not recent. It did not happen on that day.
Well, I have the incident date is August 24th. So, and I think Ms.
That's
Nimmy
yesterday.
had given me yesterday. Did you give me a different date?
This incident, to my understanding, occurred yesterday, and then the
Yes.
Saturday incident, occurred like 5 days ago, where she was arrested.
That's right. Okay, the previous incident.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's correct, Your Honor. It happened last Saturday, the previous.
Okay. Okay, I understand now. What I'll do is, I'll decrease the bond a little bit to 5,500, 2,500 on the simple battery. And then, help me with my math, it's gonna be then, hold on, let's see. And then 1,500 on the other two charges. And then that'll be 5,500. Is that right, Ms. Grace?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So that'll be a $5,500 surety bond. And the breakdown that I've given, stay away from 227 Polar Rock. No further contact with the victim, Quintarius Houston. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. Anything else?
Nothing further from the defense, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Position 1, Arnold.
This is 23 CR 005179J, Jonathan Arnold, charged with 1 count of criminal trespass, pretrial.
Fifth arrest, 2022 cruelty in the first, interference with government property. That appears to be open in DeKalb County. I got a 2014 hit and run conviction. The rest of its history, I think, is dry. That's it.
All right. This is for the state.
Your Honor, this one is mine. My apologies.
Okay.
I had to respond to a call. Let's
Okay.
see. This incident, if I have let me make sure I have the right person.
So
Is
the
this
first
Mr. Jonathan Arnold's case?
Correct. Number 1.
Okay,
Correct.
So this happened August 24th, 2023 at 703 Amal Drive. Miss Alicia Sampson stated the defendant, who is the brother of her husband, came to her home and was making threats about returning, and she asked the officers how to obtain a TPO. The officers gave her the information and departed, but were called back minutes later. The defendant had arrived at that location, struck the windshield of Miss Sampson's car, which damaged it. And the defendant was screaming, "I'm with the FS and I ain't going nowhere." Miss Sampson stated she saw the defendant strike her windshield, and that the defendant stated he was at the location because Miss Sampson's sister stabbed Miss Sampson's husband. But that was after a verbal argument between Miss Sampson and her husband, where her family were forced to intervene and pull him away from her. So despite the fact that that is the reason he said he was there, the fact remains he went back to that residence and destroyed her property, and she was not the person who committed the offense against her own husband. The defendant is the brother of, we did speak to Miss Sampson, who is here on the Zoom. She stated that she and Mr. Arnold, who's the father of her child, got into an argument. He called the defendant. The defendant came over, walked in her home, causing trouble. The defendant brought his sisters and nephew over to his home as well to intimidate her. And the defendant punched her windshield, which caused it to shatter. She said this isn't the first time the defendant has come over to the residence causing problems, and that she does not want any contact with him and wants him to stay away from the residence. She stated she also does not want the defendant to use a third-party person to contact her on his behalf. We would like to point to the fact that the defendant is currently on bond for that 2 counts of cruelty to children in the first degree, 1 count of interference with government property. I checked that case into CAB. It is still open. The state is recommending a 1,000 surety bond through $1,000 surety bond, that the defendant stay away from 703 Amal Drive, have no further contact with Ms. Sampson, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And we are also recommending 1-day anger awareness. And as I stated, Ms. Sampson is on the line if you will sound for her.
Okay, I think I see Ms. Sampson. Would you like to address the court today, Ms. Sampson?
Yes, as she stated, I do want
Hold on a
to,
second. Hold on a second. Need to swear you in first. Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
yes.
Okay, and put your hand down. And what would you like to briefly tell the court? Not here to sort out the facts, just to determine how you can be safe. So first tell me, are you in fear of Mr. Jonathan Arnold?
Yes,
And you don't want to have any further contact with him, is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Okay. And is there anything else briefly that you want to tell the court? This is not your trial.
I spoke to the rental office and they told me to get paperwork as well for my baby father because I'm sorry. For as well for my baby father because of him contacting him to retaliate.
That's hearsay evidence, Your Honor, unrelated to this. We're dealing with my client, not her husband.
Your Honor, this whole
Right.
hearing is hearsay evidence.
Right. Hold on 1 second for me. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I believe Deputy Falk, you were speaking last.
Yes, Your Honor. I was just pointing out that this entire hearing is hearsay. Your Honor is the arbiter of fact and of law on this, and we think you should be permitted to hear this and then make your determination, and you can weigh how much weight to give this.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Sampson.
The only reason why I asked that is because there's no respect for the police or the law in this case. And I don't think that just the stay away order is going to keep him from coming around. So I want to make sure that I have no contact with him whatsoever or any third party contact.
Okay, our bonds will state that when there's no contact through any means, through third parties, through other electronic devices, texting and computers and emails. And so we'll make sure that that is checked on your bond order for no further contact.
Yes. Also, I did receive an invoice for the windshield. I sent it over, I believe, to you, Ms.
What's a bond here?
No, I will not address the restitution at this point. Deputy Falk will, or the victim witness advocate can explain that to you. But if you have your documentation, just send it to the state.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. And there's nothing else. Let me hear from his attorney, and then you can mute yourself and listen in regarding the rest of the hearing, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 34 years old. He denies the allegations stated by the state, Your Honor. He tells me categorically that he did not break her windshield. He says that she may have said that happened, but he knows that it did not happen. He said that had he done something like that, there would have been other people who would have seen it. He had no interest to his hand or anything. He admits that he was over there. His brother lives there. The alleged victim is married to his brother. Her sister stabbed his brother. His brother called and he went over there because he was concerned for his brother. He did not go into their house or anything. He was outside. He was there with his siblings, and he did not break her windshield. Your Honor, my client has no significant criminal history. He is the father of one 14-year-old child who lives with him. I'm going to ask the court to consider giving my client a signature bond so he can get out of jail and take care of his child. As I said, her sister was arrested for attacking his brother, and he was really only over there because he was concerned for the safety of his own brother. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. The state's recommendation was again, Deputy Falk.
$1,000 surety bond, Your Honor, with a stay away, no further contact, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no further contact, including no third-party contact, and 1-day anger awareness.
Okay. I'm going to order that $1,000 surety bond. I'm going to order a stay away from the incident location at 703 Amal Drive. I'm going to order no further contact with the victim, Ms. Sampson. And he is to stay 200 yards away from her, as well as no contact by any other third parties or other means by phone, email, paging, writing, or sending messages by other parties. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. I think that's all that I will be able to order at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Position 2, Belcher.
This is 23 CR 005180Y. Kevin Belcher, charged with 1 count of criminal trespass. Pre-trial.
15 total. Last arrest was last month for shoplifting. 2022 simple assault. 2019 shoplifting NOLO. 2014 battery conviction. 2010 ag assault conviction. 2008 terrorist threats, trespass, obstruction, cruelty to children. I'm sorry, that was first offender. 2008 ag assault conviction.
All
That's it.
right. Oh, I'm sorry. You were done?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, state.
Yes, Your Honor. This happened August 24th, 2023 at 3601 Martin Luther King Drive, which is the Shell gas station. Officers were dispatched and spoke with Mr. Anwar Ali, who stated the defendant was present and sitting by the gas bays. The defendant had been previously given criminal trespass warnings, both verbally and in writing. At that point, the defendant was arrested and taken to the jail. The state has had contact and reach out with PAD. In conjunction with the PD's office, we also recommended that the defendant be recommended to PAD services. My understanding is he is interested in receiving those services. And for that reason, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 signature bond, through pretrial services, stay away from 3601 Martin Luther King Drive, which is the Shell gas station, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a special condition that he complete intake with PAD within 72 hours of his release, and that he is released directly to a PAD community response member. That's all for the state.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Abden.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 52 years old. He has 4 children who he's very close with. He's lived in Georgia his whole life. As the state stated, he is interested in PAD. We would agree to the conditions. He would also agree to stay away from the incident location, as I stated, and he does understand that he was previously ordered not to return. Due to his housing insecurity and lack of employment at the moment, he's not working because he has epilepsy and his symptoms prevent him from working. Signature bond would be what we would be asking for, but at a reduced amount if possible. Thank you.
All right. What was the state's recommendation again?
A $3,000 signature bond, Your Honor.
Okay. So we will,
But the state's has no problem making it 2,000.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that one is through pretrial services and that two, he reports to PAD within that 72 hours.
and Pat in 72.
Yeah, and we would agree to that, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So I will order $2,000 surety bond through
I believe you
sorry,
mean
signature bond.
Your Honor.
I mean
Thank
signature.
you. Thank
Sorry. Signature bond. And I guess I will order that through the jail with release to Pat. Are they picking him up or he's going in 72?
The request that PAD has made to me about the structure of this is that he be released directly to a PAD community response member. I will, I or Miss Abden can reach out to the PAD email address that we've been speaking with and just let them know that he's being released to PAD. The reason the state's asking for a pretrial services bond is the pretrial services can come off that bond if the defendant does not comply versus a signature bond through the jail.
Oh, okay. So then we'll do it that way. It'll be the signature bond through pretrial services. Then once he's in PAD, pretrial, we can do that. Then he would come off.
It'll be per judge, so it don't matter.
Okay. And then per judge. And then hopefully, I think you said within 72 hours or less, I guess PAD would be able to do the pickup and transfer. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I think there was a stay away state.
Yes, Your Honor, stay away from the Shell gas station on Martin Luther King Drive. The address is 3601 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else that we need to order, that will be it.
Position 3,
Okay. This is 23 CR 005181F. Clarence Bavard, charged with 1 count of simple battery, family violence, 2nd count obstructing or hindering a person making an emergency telephone call.
His 12th arrest. Last was 2015 for trespass. 2011 terrorist threats. 2010 failure to appear. Simple battery. And the 08 battery.
All right, state.
My apologies, I was muted. So in this case, Your Honor, this incident happened August 24th, 2023 at 12-12-0 Wallace Woods Lane. Officers spoke with Melissa Fenn, who is the defendant's long-term partner and who's lived with him for 17 years. They were arguing when the defendant threw a mini corn cob and struck her in the face. When Ms. Fenn tried to call 911, the defendant took the phone from her and threw it down. Their daughter came into the room, saw the defendant in Miss Fenn's face screaming at her and called 911. Miss Fenn had a minor laceration to the inside of her lip, and there were corn pieces all over the bedroom as well as a mini corn cob. The defendant admitted to throwing the corn cob at Miss Fenn, but denied striking her with it. We have had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Fenn. She and the defendant are in a relationship. They live together at the incident location and they share 2 children. She stated the defendant has a violent past and she has suffered approximately 20 years of abuse by this defendant. She stated this is not the first time this defendant has been arrested for violence against her. She cited an arrest in 2008, which we did show an arrest in 2008 with a family violence battery case in Fulton County that was dead docketed. She also cited to a 2016 case, which involved her. That is a 2016 CR 1283G case. That's a criminal trespass where the defendant pled guilty and received 12 months probation for an offense where he took her phone and threw it in the toilet, which is similar to what he did in this case. Additionally, she stated that She told the defendant he needed to leave the residence by this Sunday. She states that she believes that this is why he was upset. He threw a corn cob at her with such force that it bruised her lip. She stated she is in fear of the defendant, does not want any contact, and that she wants him to stay away from the residence. She stated she will need, the defendant will need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. We also showed a 2010 simple battery family violence in the defendant's history where it was null prost. So the state at this point has some real serious concerns based on the length of history, 2008, 2010, 2016, the 2008 and 2016 cases, both involving Ms. Fenn, that there is an ongoing continuing pattern of intimidation and of violence against Ms. Fenn. For that reason, the state is asking for a $10,000 surety bond. That's going to be $9,000 on the family violence simple battery, $1,000 on the 911 hindering. Stay away from 12120 Wallace Woods Lane. No further contact whatsoever with Miss Melissa Fenn. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And we're requesting the Family Violence Intervention Program. We would like to sound from Miss Melissa Fenn if she is here on the line. And she did state she may not be able to attend the Zoom today, Your Honor, but I still wanted to sound for her.
Your Honor,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I forgot I was muted. I'm sorry. We don't have Ms. Finn on the line. Okay, if we don't, go ahead, PD Kim.
yes, Your Honor, my client is 42 years old and he was born in Georgia. He's been here for a long time, and especially Fulton County area, he's been here for 15 years. Your Honor, my client has no objection to stay away and no further contact with Melissa Fenn. Indeed, he wants to move out from that location. So one-time law enforcement officer will be sufficient enough for him to retrieve his personal belongings, Your Honor. He is recommended for a signature on bond by the pretrial service report, and we would like to request to make sure that he has no further violent contact with his two children who are minors yet, but they are 13 years old and 17 years old. They have a good relationship. My client he's employed, self-employed with under 30 lawn care business, and he's been doing that for about 15 years. He graduated from high school. That's his background. We would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to order and I know the state's recommendation was not for a signature bond. Is that correct?
No, definitely not. Based on this history, we asked for a surety bond.
Right. And I think it was 12 cycles. I'm going to order a $9,000 surety bond, which will be $8,000 on the first charge and $1,000 on the second. And with that $9,000 surety bond, a stay away, was it 12120 Wallace Woods Lane?
That is correct.
Stay away from that address. No further contact with Ms. Fenn and her children. And then are they his children? Did we ask for third party?
Yeah, can we have third party enlist?
Okay.
Yes.
And
At
if
least
there's
one of the children is that they share, yes.
okay, at least one. Okay. And whichever the case may be, if there's visitation allowed with that child, that it be facilitated by third party rather. I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I'm not gonna order anything else yet on the FVIP. I'm gonna wait for that. But hopefully with the stay away, 200 yards, no contact of any sort by third parties, by emails, by text messages, by cell, there's no contact, absolutely. All those boxes on the bond will be checked. And I think that's all I will order at this time.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Oh, and I'm sorry, was there a request for a one-time law enforcement escort, I believe?
Yes, we do.
I wrote that down.
There
Okay.
was, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
And so one-time law enforcement escort to return to that location to retrieve his personal items. Please not go back without that law enforcement escort, Mr. Bavard. All right, thank you.
Position 4, Brown.
And Judge Mincy, while they're bringing Mr. Brown up, can you give me the breakdown on that bond again?
Oh, that was 8,000 on the simple battery, 1,000 on the obstructing or hindering.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Give me a second. I need to check one thing. All right, I'm sorry. This is position 4. Frederick Brown, charge of 1 count of criminal trespass, pretrial.
17 total, 2020 driving without a valid license, 2017 and 19 probation, 2016 DUI conviction, and 2012 trespass no law.
All right, state.
Yeah. It happened on August 24th, 2023 at 4001 Lakemont Drive. Officers spoke with Miss Taisha Brown, who stated the defendant, her husband, called her while she was away from the home and told her she would never see her dog Angel is a Shih Tzu and is 12 years of age. Miss Brown then sent her sister to the residence, who confirmed that Angel, her dog, was gone. The defendant also learned that approximately $500 in clothing was also missing. She went to the defendant's residence, to their residence, and demanded to know where her dog was. He claimed to have no idea. We have had an opportunity to speak with Miss Brown. She stated that she and the defendant are married. They live together at the incident location and they share no children. She stated that her dog has been found this morning and she will be picking up the dog. She stated that her clothes are still missing. Victim stated that her clothes in the closet and it is now empty. She stated this is not the first time this has happened, and that every time they are in an argument, the defendant destroys her property. She stated she's okay with having some contact, but doesn't want him to return back to the residence. I do have an issue with contact. There is a 2010 simple battery and early conduct conviction out of DeKalb, as well as 2017 and 2019 probation violations. We are agreeable to a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Stay away from the 4001 Lakemont Drive address. No further contact with Taisha Brown, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. That's all for the state. We would like to sound for Miss Brown. She did say she was going to be unable to attend the Zoom today due to other conflicts, but we would still like to sound for her.
All right, Miss Taisha Brown. Miss Brown. All right, go ahead, PD Appen.
Thank you, Your Honor. And just to confirm, was the maintaining a disorderly house NOD'd by the state?
That is correct. It was, and we forwarded that NOD to the jail as well as to Mr. Wilburn, who handles those matters.
Okay, thank you for confirming. So Mr. Brown is 49 years old. He was born in New Jersey. He moved to Georgia around 2011 to be closer to family. He has 2 children who are 21 and 14 years old. He got his high school degree and he went on to study business management at Shaw University for 2 years. He is a maintenance worker at DHL, where he's been working for some time. He does maintain his innocence and firmly contests these allegations. As for the criminal trespass, it's my understanding from my client that the dog ran away due to a door being open. And Ms. Brown is not here today to confirm or deny these allegations, nor is that the purpose of this hearing today. And without going too much into the facts, my client also told me that his wife called the police during a verbal argument, and they're separated now. They've agreed to separate, and they're actually scheduled to move out of this apartment on September 1st, which is the incident location. He, according to him, has plans to move to Austell, Georgia. And despite this move, he does have a vehicle, understands his obligation to appear before the court in this case, and he would be able to do so. He would agree to a stay away due to the circumstances. And if that is ordered, we would ask for a one-time police escort for him to collect his belongings. His most recent arrest was 3 years ago, and it was for a nonviolent offense. And it is my understanding he has no prior felonies. My client is not in a position to pay the recommended bond. It looks like it was set at $5,000. And he tells me that he has child support obligations. He's moving and that's costly. So I would ask the court for a signature on bond at a lower rate. Thank you.
All right, I think the state recommended a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, correct?
You did, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm not sure how we can get lower than that, but
Yeah.
that is our recommendation.
All right, I will order that $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. I am going to
That'd be per judge.
per judge. And with that, I'm going to order the one-day anger awareness course through pretrial. I'm going to order a one-time law enforcement escort back to the incident location for the defendant to retrieve his personal belongings. There's going to be a stay away from the 4001 Lakemont Drive. No further contact with Taisha Brown. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I think that's all for now.
Position 5, Davis.
This is 23 CR 005183E. And this is Mr. Brandon Davis, charged with 1 count of hit and run, 2 counts of hit and run, and a 3rd count of failure to observe traffic laws from October the 3rd, 2021. Is that correct?
That
And
is
then,
correct, Your Honor.
okay, pre-trial.
10 adult arrests. I got arrested out of car for obstruction, on probation, criminal street gang activity, 6 counts. On parole for possession of a firearm by first offender. He should get off for that next year. 2020, forgery, 4th degree conviction, 2020 probation, 2019 parole violation, 2016 financial transaction card theft, possession of a firearm by convicted felon conviction.
All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor, this incident happened again, as you've heard, October 3rd, 2021. Defendant was operating a 2020 Dodge Challenger. The defendant departed from the gas station at Holcomb Bridge Road, turned across the right lane to the entrance of Georgia 400, which was prohibited by the design of the intersection. In doing so, the defendant struck a 2015 Hyundai Sonata that belonged to Jonathan Luker, who was driving the vehicle, which then had to abruptly stop and causing Mr. Canedo Castro to strike Mr. Luker's vehicle from behind in his Nissan Altima. The defendant then fled the scene. I will point out that these warrants were taken out on October 7th of 2021. So this is not an issue where there was any delay in the executing of the warrants. It was just merely where the defendant hadn't been served those warrants. However, we are still within the 2-year time frame. As you have heard from pretrial, the defendant has quite a colorful history, including his 2011 conviction for gang offenses for which he's on first offender, a 2016 DUI conviction, and a possession of firearm financial transaction card theft conviction for which he is still on probation. He also has a 2019 parole violation, 2020 parole violation, and his most recent conviction was forgery in the 4th degree, where he was sentenced in 2022. The state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond, $1,000 on each count, no driving whatsoever unless it is to work, school, or legal appointments or medical appointments. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we know he does not personally know them, but we are requesting no further contact with Jonathan Luker and Canedo Castro. That's all for the state.
All right. PD Apton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Davis is 31 years old. He was born in Georgia, where he's lived his whole life. He has his GED. He lives with his grandparents and his 9-month-old daughter. He's responsible for financially supporting everyone in his household. And to do so, he currently holds 2 jobs. He works at DoorDash and as a shift supervisor at Ashley Logistics Corporation. My client maintains his innocence and contests these allegations. It is my understanding from my client that this may be an issue of mistaken identity. We would ask the court for a signature bond through the jail, or in the alternative, if the court is not inclined, for a surety bond of $1,500.
All right. And state, repeat your recommendation.
State's recommendation is 3,000. 1,000 is to each count. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. No driving unless to legal, medical, or work, and no further contact with Mr. Luker or Mr. Castro.
All right, I will order a $3,000 surety bond. 1,000 on each of the charges. I'm going to order a no further contact with both victims. I'm going to order no driving. Unless it is to work, medical, or legal, or the courthouse, or to see his attorney. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I think that's it. Anything else, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay.
Position 12.
This is 23 CR 005189H. MacArthur Plumart, charge at 1 count of battery. Free trial.
First arrest.
Okay. State.
Yes, Your Honor, this incident happened yesterday at 844 Holcomb Bridge Road in Alpharetta. Around 2 p.m. yesterday, officers were dispatched to a domestic dispute incident that a third party had witnessed and called 911. Officers were advised that a male grabbed a female by her throat and hit her. The witness described the parties as an older white male and an Asian female with blonde hair that had gone into a GMC truck. When officers arrived and they saw the described truck and the parties were inside that truck, the victim, Miss Julie La, hesitantly told officers that the accused did put his hands around her neck, and officers observed a fresh cut on her neck. When officers spoke with the defendant, he told officers that the victim, Miss La, had issues with people at a nearby business, and she still went to the business, and he was trying to prevent any issues with her going on at that business by pushing her away. However, the officers were able to find the witness that called 911 initially, and they were advised that the parties were arguing at the top of a staircase on the side of the building. And she observed defendant grab Miss La by her throat and then began pushing her towards the stairs. The witness also witnessed Miss La kick the defendant in the groin in defense, and that's when the defendant grabbed Miss La by the back of her neck and pushed her against the wall, and then proceeded to punch her several times in the ribs. And then the witness banged on the window to get the party's attention, in which she was successfully able to get them to stop. The parties lived together. The state wasn't able to speak to Miss La. They've been living together intermittently. They are on and off dating. The victim has been staying at defendant's home for the past couple of weeks. Due to the nature of the incident and the extent of the violent nature towards the victim, the state is asking for a $3,500 surety bond to stay away from that location, 8440 Holcomb Bridge Road in Alpharetta. No further contact with Miss Juliet La. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1 day of anger awareness. And I would like to sound from Miss La if she's on the Zoom today, Your Honor.
All right, Miss La. I don't think she is. All right, Ms. McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 50 years old. He has no criminal history whatsoever. Your Honor, he tells me that he was merely trying to get Miss Law, who has a restraining order against her for someone who actually works in that building, who works for him. So when she came there, he knew that she was likely to get in trouble if she remains there. So he was essentially just trying to get her away from this building so that she would not get into any trouble. The warrant clearly states that she attacked him also. They do not live together, according to my client. He would prefer no further violent contact between them, Your Honor. I would ask the court, considering his lack of criminal history, to give him a signature bond so he can get out of jail and get back to his business. He does operate a business at this location, Your Honor, so naturally he cannot stay away from there. This is not a location where the alleged victim needs to be because, as I said, she has a restraining order against her in regard to someone who actually works in this particular building. And this is just my client's way of stopping her from getting into trouble. And nothing further, Your Honor.
I will order the $3,500 surety bond. I'm trying to figure out, I guess with the stay away, you're
This is
saying that
public
it's the
place, Your
business,
Honor.
yeah.
The business, she doesn't live there. And she is not supposed to be there herself because someone who works in that building has a restraining order against her.
State, what do you say about that?
We're fine with the stay away.
But I'm
He
saying
can't stay away, he works there.
he works there. The victim, it's a business, it's not a personal home.
But we can take away the stay away.
Okay. All right, so we'll take that away. Just no further contact with Juliet Law. I'm not sure how to spell that last name. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I'm sorry, this one, Mr. Plummer, this was his first arrest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm just now reading my notes to see that. I'll make it a 3,500 signature bond through
Thank you, Your Honor.
through the jail.
I don't
I'll make
understand to object to that, considering the nature of the crime. Your Honor, he grabbed her by the throat. We were trying to send this to the DA. He grabbed her by the throat. He pushed her towards the stairs. He started punching her in her ribs.
Your Honor, my client.
And what was the relationship, or just a customer?
They're intermittently.
Oh, Your Honor, they're in a relationship, but there's a restraining order against her concerning someone who works in that building. So my client was just trying to protect her, to get her away from there so she would not get into trouble.
I don't know if protecting her is hitting her in her ribs or grabbing her by the throat.
He denies that he did that. He said he was just holding on to her to get her away, to get her.
And Your Honor, I just want to put it on record that officers were dispatched to that location due to a 911 call from a witness who witnessed this incident and called 911.
We understand that, but what my client says is that he was just trying to get her out of the building so she wouldn't get into trouble.
But I'm not going to belabor the facts, but what we do know is it's his first arrest. I am concerned about the allegations. I am concerned about making sure that the victim is going to be safe if he is released, and that he have no further contact with this victim, and that the business, it seems like the victim would not have to go back there if we have a no further contact. And this is not a place that the victim would have to frequent or go back to.
Not at all.
Then I'm wanting to make sure that that is the case. I do see that it is his first arrest. If he has a business and ample ties, that I don't have any concerns that he would not return, then I'm going to somewhat base it more on that as opposed to the allegations. So what I will do is I will again order a $3,500 signature bond. I will change it and make it the pretrial so that he has to report per judge, and then no further contact with the victim. Okay.
Now, how much? I'm running out of whiteout.
I know, I'm sorry. $3,500 signature bond through pretrial.
And there's no contact.
And no contact with the victim, yes.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have that, Ms. Grace?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any whiteout left that you can lend to Mr.
Barely.
Barely? All right. What do we have next, Deputy?
Position 6, someone was requesting a breakout for one.
Let's see, is that requested for a
I
breakout?
requested a breakout, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, this is 23 CR 005184E. Mr. Is it Hazard?
He said yes.
And was that the only one for a breakout? I thought, oh, I saw a waiver on 11.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, this is the last one and then the waiver.
That is correct, Your Honor.
The position 8 bailout.
Position 8 just needs to pay the purge amount. I believe it was 1050.
Okay, that's a child support. Okay.
Yes. I mean, we can address that one, but it's the purge.
There's nothing I can do with that. Right.
How much was that?
Right.
How much was that?
I believe it was 1050. Miss Nimini can assist me with that.
Yes, it
Are
was
we saying 1,050 or 10,050?
No, 1050.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Let's go into breakout with this case if we need to, or, you know, we're down to the end. I don't think we have anybody else on here. Do you want to do breakout or do you want to stop the live stream?
It doesn't look like there are any witnesses in the Zoom. It looks like all court personnel. So if we can turn off the YouTube, we can proceed.